Hi, this is Stacy Hernandez with the Best You College Admissions Consulting. The best college for the best you. I get the question a lot, when do colleges release decisions? So I'm going to target it a little bit more specifically and say, when do colleges in the United States release final admissions decisions? Because it's where I get most of my applicants wanting to apply, and I'm more of a U.S. specialist. So, and I'm saying final admissions decisions because this is something that's really specific to. There's a couple of rounds that happen during the college application process in the U.S. And so there's the early application round, which I've sent many videos through social media and through my blogging, and already talked a lot about the early action and early decision round and when colleges release those decisions. Typically, you see those decisions being released in December and January. But what I'm focusing on is the final decision round. And so this is where students that applied early may have been deferred from their early action or early decision schools, and they're waiting for the final decision, or they applied regular decision, which is the standard round that many students apply. That's usually the application deadline, typically in January. And so that's what I'm focused on in this video. So the final admissions decisions, there's not a specific date that you see colleges release their final admission decision, but here's kind of the rule of thumb. So the month of March tends to be a very interesting month in admissions offices across the United States. Some colleges are very ambitious and are able to get their decisions released in, let's say, January, February, before March. Typically, what you see is most colleges and universities in the US are releasing their decisions in March. They have until April 1 to release their decisions. So if a student applies after a deadline, then the college does not have to honor the April 1 release date. But if a student applies on time, follows all the rules of how the application is supposed to be sent, and it's completed, and all of those sort of things, then April 1 is the last day that colleges can release the admissions decision. So what that looks like can vary per applicant. So a student may get a decision of an admit or acceptance. A student may get a deny or a rejection. I hate that word rejection, but a deny. A student also may get a wait list. So a wait list decision means that the college wants to hold on to the applicants, and they want to wait through the month of May, June, possibly July, depending on what documentation the school gives you in terms of their wait list timeline. And they will then wait to see if there's any spaces that are available. And they'll go back to, if they decide in May, let's say, after they've counted all the decisions, they know who's coming. Then in May and June, colleges will see, they'll go back to their wait list if they have spaces available, and then they will work on admitting those students. Stay tuned for a waitlist video. I will talk about that more in the month of May. So again, those decisions could be admit, waitlist, deny. Some students will get an unconditional acceptance. So that means the college doesn't feel that the applicant is strong enough for the school currently, meaning academically strong enough currently based on the student's record, high school record, but the school wants the student. So what they do is they'll send the student a conditional admit and say, hey, if you go elsewhere and you get this certain GPA and you take these certain classes, some will say classes or not, and you apply as a transfer student, we would honor that agreement and accept you. So that's something that is typically you see. There's also conditional acceptances where if pending a certain class you take over the summer, you're in and you can come. Some admit will have a spring acceptance rate rather than a fall acceptance rate. So there's all different kinds of decisions that can be released. So other really important things to know once these decisions are released is that students have until May 1st, my birthday, May 1st, to enroll at an institution. Okay, so you have a college that has until April 1st to release the decision. And I'll tell you how they release those in a minute. And then a student has till May 1 to deposit. I never encourage a student to wait and deposit on May 1. I think it should be done at least a few days ahead of time, if not earlier. So if you think about the month of April, if some schools will roll out throughout March. So some schools will wait until the end of the month and they'll do late March, they'll send their decisions out. Some will do it on April 1st. Some will roll out through the month of March. So some schools may target March 15th, some may do March 10th, some may do March 20th. So there's a variety of deadlines that may come up. So there's not usually one set deadline ever. Now, so students may start getting decisions in March, and students will then have April really to make their final choice. When students are making their final choice, they need to go back to the campus and spend March and April visiting a couple of their accepted schools again to make their final decision. So I always tell parents, be open and be ready to go if your student needs to go visit a school or two to make their final decision. A lot of colleges do accepted student open houses, overnight programs, and all sorts of things to kind of get accepted students back on campus and learning more about the school and help them make that final decision. So that's some of the important things to know what to expect. So don't wait until May 1st to deposit. When I say deposit, that means enroll. That means when you get admitted, the college will send you important information on how to enroll in the institution and how to save your spot in the class. So that's what I mean by deposit, because there's typically a deposit check that needs to be sent or a deposit made in order to then save your spot in the school. So just one other important thing to know, when colleges release those decisions, they are doing it in all different formats. So a college may, and not meaning they multiply and do multiple different kinds of formats. Typically they choose one format, and the student will either get a letter in the mail, a student will either get an email, or a student has to log on to the portal system if the student was provided with portal information for that school, and they can go onto the portal to then see what their decision is. Typically, I see an email and then follow up with mail, because sometimes the mail is the way to get like all the formal documentation, like the deposit information, the housing information, the financial aid information. Some of it is all electronic now. So it all depends on the school. So this is why it's so crucial that students are checking email all the time, checking their portal, making sure they're on top of everything. So those are just a couple of important things to know. So even though this talk was about when do colleges release final admissions decisions, there's a lot of pieces that go with it. So thank you for your time. This is Stacy Hernandez with the Best You College Admissions Consulting, the best college for the best you. You can check me out at thebestyou.net. The best you as in the letter u.net. I offer free introductory family calls or parent calls, and you can check out how to sign up for one of those on the website thebestyou.net. Thank you.